I'll put my phone in airplane mode as well.
See, everyone offers to do that. Yeah, I've yet to actually have a situation where
I don't think
we've received a phone call mid-podcast or anything like that.
Who calls anymore?
Fair enough. So welcome to the podcast, Callum.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You know, it's been, I say, a long time coming.
It's been a while coming. I've been wanting to do this for a while, actually. Ever since I knew you were doing a podcast.
Yeah. You were like one of the first people who kind of hopped up and was like, I want to do that, and then we never got around to it.
Yeah, I guess, everything changed a little bit. Yeah,
the world got turned upside down.
Yeah.
But obviously, welcome for people listening. I got Callum with me, who...
Hello?
I want to describe you as like a musician.
That's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, go for a musician, yeah.
It's
a nice way of saying things.
Well, this is the way I kind of see it is like I have so many people on and like I know what they do in their spare time.
Yeah.
And I know what they do in like their work time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they classify themselves as like their spare time. Like I classify myself as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do, but some people don't.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, it depends whether or not you classify yourself as your profession. I mean, these days, like, a lot of people have a lot of different interests and, like yourself, you have a lot of different ventures. You don't spend all of your time just doing your regular job.
I spend most of my time doing this.
Yeah, which is nice, obviously.
Chat to random people.
I think it's good that people get the chance to do, like kind of express themselves in different ways and be able to do more things that they like. Instead of having to just be about what?
Everydayness.
The 9 to 5.
I think you got to have that. Like, even if it's just something small you can do, like that little place to vent. Yeah. Really helps.
You absolutely need that.
It's like, I don't understand sport, but I can understand why people go and play sport.
Oh.
Like on a weekly thing. It's like, I don't understand sport in any way, shape or form. But it's like, but you've got one thing in a week which isn't related to your day to day. And I can get that.
It's just about having that little bit of yourself that's like, like compartmentalized and away from everything else.
Maybe that's what I hope this is. Like people who listen to it, it's just like, this isn't advertising, it's nothing, it's just people chat.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So do you do any exercising or anything like that, or?
I mean, I feel like this has turned into like health checkup. Are you okay, Graham? Is there a chance you're gonna die soon? No, I don't exercise at all. Like, I mean, it was weird. Like last year, I lost 2 stone, and that was literally just by controlling my calories.
Yeah.
Like I got a little calorie app. And like started tracking what I was eating and all that kind of stuff. And you set like a weight goal, so it tells you how fewer calories you need to eat to meet that goal. And I was still eating well. I was never eating like starving myself or anything like that. And I lost 2 stone. I gained back a stone this year. And like moving into, well, I mean, this will be 2018 now by the time this comes out.
Oh yeah.
That's we're already next year. Like I'm kind of in the mindset of I should probably do something. But I hate gyms.
Yeah.
Just so much.
I totally get that.
Like, I don't mind people at gyms, like, because I know a lot of people, like, feel insecure and stuff about going to the gym, and I don't have that. I just literally hate being in the gym. Like, running on a treadmill.
I hate running on a treadmill. That's the thing. I try and go when I have the time.
Yeah.
And that's been a bit on and off lately. I go through, like, periods. It's like, I'll do it for, like, 2 months, and then I'll start seeing, like, a little bit of improvement. And then I'll just, like, suck it off. But, yeah, doing, like, a lot of the stuff in there is, like, really boring. Yeah. And, like, the atmosphere is always so weird. Like, there's never, like, it's always, like, pumping out dance music. And
yeah. Well, that's the other thing as well. Like, because, like, so, like, you do 20 minutes on, like, a cycle machine. Or, like, treadmill, or even, like, a rowing machine. It's, like, cool. So my options are... I don't have any headphones on, and I listen to the extreme like drum and bass, which is happening in the gym, or I have headphones in and then I can't hear my breathing and I start dying halfway through.
But then you also can still kind of hear the extreme
Yeah.
drum and bass like
So,
halfway through your song as well.
Kicking through, and then or I sit and watch the TV, which is daytime TV, and I'm like, I don't want any of this.
It's always daytime TV as well with like bad subtitles as well. Like they get
it's always slightly delayed.
It's like BBC News as well, but like they're messing up some of the key details.
It's like there was an attack in Syria. No, that's not Syria. It's like make your mind up. Come on. Oh, yeah. We have completely skipped over the first question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
How long have we known each other?
Oh.
Which is the initial question for all my podcasts.
Coming up to about 4 years almost. I think I'm not sure when. I think you started close to when I started. And I'll have lived in Lincoln for about 4 years.
Yeah.
In January.
Yeah.
And I think you came over around about February. As far as
I was there in January.
Were you there in January?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like it's weird though, because like we've known each other. Well, we've known each other existed for 4 years.
Yeah.
We've only got to know each other maybe the last 2 years.
Yeah, the last 2 years I'd say. Yeah. I think that's just the nature of life, really. You can know about people for a long time and just be in the same sort of circles, but never really have the chance to really talk or anything. And yeah, I think it's another thing of like, I guess, part of modern living is that you have access to so many people now that, sometimes you find yourself distracted by, how many people there are.
I think there's definitely some people wear themselves out trying to be, it sounds really like antisocial, trying to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, whereas they can, instead of just taking the time to meet someone and learn about them, it's like, oh no, I've got to go here and I've got to hang out with these guys and I got to go, got to throw myself over there. It's like, you can really wear yourself out doing that. Yeah,
it's definitely rough. I've tried to do that at points of my life.
Yeah.
And now I kind of try and make sure that I'm spending like more quality time with, fewer people, I guess, in like immediate vicinity, and then every now and then trying to have some like time for the people you don't get to chat to, like yourself, as much as maybe I want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really weird. I remember when I first moved down, I used to like rack myself with guilt about I should be going back home to see all the friends that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I got myself into a weird place where I felt like, torn between two places, and like, because I was trying to make it work by going home. And then like a couple of years in, I realised that like it's not really possible.
No.
Like I can't give up, 1 weekend. Like I can't even give up 1 weekend a month to really go back, and do that every single month.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not enough time.
It's so
you just stretch yourself really thin.
Because I find
it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few people who have friend groups who live in other cities, or they like moved from one city or another, and then their friend groups get really offended when they can't go back. Yeah. It's like, I live on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
If I can't come back every weekend, that's not a huge deal. That's just cost of living and trying to have people in your life on the other side of the world. Everyone has their obligations.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of figure that one out because. Whilst I still like to go back every now and then and see people and stuff like that, I know they've got stuff going on in their lives and I've got stuff going on in my lives. It's kind of, it kind of goes without saying. See,
I'm kind of the opposite. I'm terrible at keeping in contact with people to the point where I've essentially just cut people off.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not friends with anyone. Well, I say not friends. I know them. They may be on my friends list on Facebook, but I've not spoken to people. Like, people I went to school with, people I went to college with, maybe 90% of the people I went to uni with,
really,
who have moved away or anything like that, I just don't get to stay in contact because I'm always in the mindset of they've got their own lives, they're doing their own thing. I've got my own life, I'm doing my own thing. I don't need to go and do that. And it's weird, like little balance of watching people who really get into their friend groups, whereas I just kind of wander through and then chat to people along the way.
I'd like to say I'll probably do the same as what you say. Like, there's not. I think that's normal though. I mean, think about like how many people you were growing up with, like that now you have like a lot in common with. It's probably pretty low.
Yeah.
And even if it's like somebody you've known a long time, like they can still like not have as much in common with somebody that you meet tomorrow.
I think the best example is always my brother.
Mm.
And we both, because we're both very similar personalities, if we weren't related, we probably wouldn't talk as often as we do.
Mm.
But because we are related, we know, we can hit them up about anything or that kind of thing, because like, we're part of their life, sort of thing. But if I wasn't related to him, and he won't mind me saying it, I'd probably just never speak to him. He'd just be one of those people who'd just be on my friends list of like, oh, we've got very similar interests, we became friends over that, but we drifted apart. He lives in a different city now, so it doesn't really matter. But he won't mind that.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't.
He was on my previous. He's the last podcast I recorded before this one.
Oh yeah.
Is with him.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's how I'm kicking off the new year.
When did you record that?
I did that on Boxing Day.
Mm.
So this is all very timeline confusing. So right now, like for anyone listening, like this is the day before New Year's Eve.
It's New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The eve of New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
There's probably, it might not come out for a week or so.
Oh, okay.
Just because of like timelines.
That's fine.
And then wanting to kick it off with like the one with my brother. So yeah, but the one which we filmed with my brother was with Boxing Day. So it's a whole different vibe. So we've just been through Christmas and all that kind of stuff, whereas this is the New Year vibe. We've got
New Year vibe. You got any resolutions or anything like that?
I don't tend to do resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, until last year, I didn't really see years as a thing.
Yeah.
Which may sound stupid.
What made you change?
My relationship ended.
Yeah.
So my relationship ended on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that created a bookmark at the end of the year. So it now became a thing of, that means there's something significant now. There's like an anniversary, which is there. And I loved that. That was like, it was...
That's such a strange way of describing it.
This is the way I think, like, because, like, obviously my partner knew me very well. And we'd been talking about things for a lot of the time. And it would come down to that point of where we knew it was going to end. So it was just a case of when it was going to end. So in a way, it was kind of requested / perfect for it to end on New Year's Eve, because we're both into art and concept, and it was like, there's a huge concept there. It's like you've ended a thing which is like running for 5 years. It came to a close.
And then you get to start fresh.
And then there's like a fresh start in the new year. So it's like New Year's before that never was a thing for me. Like the idea of New Year's was staying home with family.
Yeah.
Watch Jules Holland on TV. You know, go to bed. Just.
It's been a while since I watched Jules Holland on TV. I know.
But like this year,
is it still on? I don't even watch.
every year.
Every year.
Annual.
That's good.
Yeah. This year I've not gone out of my way to make something happen, but I am accidentally hosting a party.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Which has gone from like 4 friends with pre-drinks to 15 people. And which you're invited if you want to come, by the way.
I might swing by, actually.
I was going to say, have you got New Year's plans?
Well, kind of and not kind of.
Right.
I was I was supposed to be potentially hanging out with my partner and her friends, but that's fallen through. And then what I was going to do before was going to go see some people around. I was going to go hang out with Belle. She lives like near here. So I'll probably do that, but then I can swing by here as well. Just have a little bit of a,
We're having a shindig.
A little bit of a stopover.
Which, I've not planned anything. Or I just keep saying, come to my house.
I'll be fine. It'll be nice.
That's the way we're looking at it, kind of thing. I mean, is New Year's a thing for you? Like, is that...
kind of. Well...
Are you one of those new beginnings people?
No.
I mean, you bought my calendar, so I don't think...
New beginnings... Not really. Like... The best New Year's thing I did was this year.
Right.
I decided I was going to start doing music again.
Yep.
And, like, even though I didn't get to where I thought I maybe could have done, due to mostly time and, like, sort of organisation, I got, like, halfway through... Well, not halfway through. I got the ball rolling, as it were. I started making music again, which is something that I used to do a lot of, and then kind of stopped doing it because you know, I grew apart from the people I used to like do music with and stuff like that. I ended up moving across the country.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started learning to play guitar again, and that's gone well. I used to play like drums a lot. You know, music's always been like a big part of my life, and it was kind of weird that I wasn't doing anything like that, because I found it to be one of the better ways of like being able to get something creative out there. Because I used to draw and stuff, and you know, do a bit of photography and stuff like that, and I enjoyed it, but like I would always see like my limitations more in that than doing music.
See, I'm the exact opposite. Whenever I even attempt music, I always just see it's like it's one of the few kind of like mediums where I look at it and I can see all the limitations, and I'm like, it's not even worth me attempting it. Like with like drawing and art, I'm always just like, yeah, I can work through any problem I come to.
See, I wish I had that.
With music, yeah, I'm just like, as soon as something goes, like, it's even like with guitars, like something goes wrong, it's like, oh, this guitar's out of tune. Can't really tune it by ear. Guess that's the end of that for a while. Yeah, I don't know. The music always seemed way more complex to me and way more technical than I was willing to put into it.
I think it's as technical as you want it to be. But I don't know though. Like I come from such a strange background of kind of like trying to make it up myself, in a way. Like I played drums, and so I taught myself how to play drums. I didn't read sheet music. I can read it a little bit.
Yeah.
But the things that always interested me when I was learning to play was like learning to do more and more difficult stuff. I found that fun. Yeah. And like trying to be able to do something that I'd like, you know, other people might struggle or something like that. Just because you could. I found that interesting. But like compared to doing art and stuff, like I would see other people's like stop motion, time lapse like drawings of what they would do, and then like just seeing those, it'd just be like, oh god, how did you get from like having nothing to having all of that? And then you see how they did it, and it just like, oh god.
So like I played clarinet when I was in seniors, and I played guitar in a few terrible bands. Yeah. And I can't play bass. I don't know why. Like I can play guitar, I can play rhythm guitar, but I can't play bass. But it was always just like, it was whenever it came to a point of like, even with clarinet, like you'd be playing along, you know, getting your clarinet on, as you do.
Yeah, as you do.
As you do. And then like you read the music, and then you'll talk to someone else in the band, and they'll say, oh, well, you need this type of reed, or you need like this something specific for this sound. I'm like, I don't want to learn all that. In a way, I want like an organic instrument, which will just adapt to whatever I'm trying to make. like with paint and stuff, I can just be like, yeah, this will kind of go there, and I'll make it work. But with music, it was like it always seemed to be you had to have something specific to kind of make the sound which you wanted.
I get that.
Just it was way too much learning.
It depends if you're going for like specific sound, like it is you know. There's as much level to it as you want to have, really, and you can get like really controlling with it. But at the same time, like you also could just ignore all of that and just go for like what you you know, kind of feel like doing.
That's quite like, I think that's why I like a lot of blues and a lot of jazz stuff. Just because it often seems like they're just going for it. It doesn't really matter how it comes out. It's like C6 Steve's type thing where it's like got a box and a guitar string. It's like, that's great.
But he gets a good sound out of it, doesn't
it? Like, it doesn't need to be a fancy, you know, Telecaster, Gibson, whatever you want to go with. He's got a box, and that's good enough. I mean, are you... Because I find I've got kind of like a complex relationship with music, but are you one of those people who... You get emotional reaction from music quite heavily.
Yeah, I do sometimes. It's weird. Like, I talked to some people about this, and I'm not sure if it's something that everybody else had, but like, I can remember when I was in university, I was talking to a guy about music, and I was just talking about, like, you know when you listen to like a song that's so good, like the hairs on your arm stand up. Yeah. And I never really explained like or talked to somebody about that, like music like that, until I'd gotten into university. And I'm not sure if it's something that happens to everyone. I guess it probably does.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's how I feel about when I hear like a really great song,
Yeah.
like a song that's just, you know. The other thing, like the way I also see music is like I don't see it as necessarily being like always like great or bad or whatever. Sometimes I see like it as, did the person, when how they've made the song, did the idea that I think they had at the time, did that get fully like realized?
Yeah.
And like how close to fully realizing the idea did they get?
Yeah.
And that's a hard one to describe, because that's kind of one that I go for like more of a like a, when I'm thinking about what I would have done with that song, you know, how would I, if there's a song that I could like, I wouldn't edit or change in any way or something like that because it's just perfect, you know, all the idea is there, then I always think that that's a great song, even if it's not like kind of the music that I would listen to, or you know.
I mean, I find it interesting, especially with like, especially like popular music at the minute. Like, popular music at the minute has a very similar sound across the board. It's got a very, I mean, it's not like a techno sound anymore. It's kind of like a synth sound.
It's been a while since I've listened to radio stuff.
Well,
though,
yeah,
but...
it's like, I mean, it's like Katy Perry or Taylor Swift or something like that. It's that kind of, it's that pop sound, and I often wonder when I listen to those, because a lot of those you listen to, and the lyrics, there can be a lot of meaning to the lyrics, especially with stuff like coming from Katy Perry at the minute. She's done some stuff which is all about like female empowerment and all this kind of thing.
She does a lot of stuff like that.
The actual sound of the song kind of deteriorates the message, and so I wonder when pop stars are making music of whether what they're trying to realize actually comes through in a song, because they've got to make it a certain sound now.
Well, I don't know. It depends what pop star you're dealing with.
Yeah.
The whole thing about pop, which I find interesting, and you know, some people just throw it away because they'd say, "Oh yeah, pop music, it's just like manufactured and you know, it's derivative or whatever."
Yeah.
But they don't actually take the time to listen to like all the different bits of it and like the story that's behind a pop song. Because behind a pop song, you could have one person who wrote everything. They wrote the lyrics, the guitar. They did the instrumental, and they'll probably have a producer or something like that. Yeah. But it could just be a person who's very good at singing. A guy who produces the track and like the beats and like does all the musical instrument like arrangement, or it could be like a bunch of people doing that, and then another guy who writes the lyrics. And there's a big difference between those two things, and that's where I find it to be interesting. Yeah, because you don't know I don't know, you can see sometimes when somebody has more control over what they're doing as a pop star, when it comes out a bit more what's his name? It's gonna bug me. The guy who did Uptown Funk and
Bruno Mars.
Yeah, Bruno Mars. You can tell he writes pop songs, but he has a decent amount of control over either what he's singing, I'd assume, or what he's playing,
Bruno
or the
Mars
star he wants to go for.
Reminds me heavily of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, definitely.
I get that that's kind of the style which has been pushed upon him, but just in terms of how a song comes out from him, it's very much, this is the song I want to make.
You can tell the influence, and that's not a bad thing as well. I think it's good to have your influences visible sometimes. Especially from artists that aren't producing music at the moment. Like Michael Jackson, I guess. You're not gonna get, if you get a new Michael Jackson song, it's gonna be a load of hidden B-sides.
Yeah,
they never released or something.
Never actually released. That's what worried me about Prince dying, because there's that there's a whole story which Kevin Smith tells. I don't know if you've seen it. It's this.
I probably won't have seen it. I haven't seen a lot of Kevin Smith.
There's a DVD I got, which is it's called An Interview with Kevin Smith or something like that, and it's essentially him going to different colleges and giving just answering questions, telling little anecdotes about his life, answering the back and forth thing. And he tells this story about when he made a documentary for Prince. Prince had seen Dogma. Yeah. And had said to him, "Oh, I really like what you did there. I really like the message you were putting across and all this kind of thing." And so he invited him to his mansion
Yeah.
to film this event which was taking place, where they were getting a bunch of Prince fans who were coming to his thing to kind of chat, meet with him, just get to know what was going on, sort of thing. And he tells this really weird story about these little things which happened at Prince's house, and how Prince is like super into Jesus.
Yeah.
And how his whole world is just kind of contained. But there's this like brief glimpse moment where he has an interview with one of Prince's assistants.
Yeah.
And he's like, we've run out of film. We haven't got any more to shoot, so we're shooting nothing right now. And they literally just kept the cameras going, because they were like, we've run out of film. And the assistant just says, don't worry about it. It's probably not coming out anyway. Because like, what do you mean? Like, how is that a thing? Like, and he's like, this is just what Prince does. Prince makes all of this stuff, and then it just gets locked up in a vault. He's like, what? It's like, there's literally a vault which is just filled with Prince songs, films, books, anything he's made or wanted to make at any point in any time. And it's because he doesn't live in the real world. He lives in Prince's world. He's like, if you try to explain to Prince that you can't do something, you couldn't do it. She was like, if Prince wants a giraffe at 4 a.m, I got to find a way to get him a giraffe at 4 a.m, because he won't understand that that's not possible. And it's like, when he died, there was just this huge thrust.
It was just a giraffe that nobody had in there.
Well, yeah. It was, never level and never again. But it was just, it's that whole thing of, there's just going to be this gigantic vault of music, which obviously someone who owns Prince's estate now could release. And I always find that such a shame, because it's like, it wasn't their intention to release it.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's what we do as artists. You kind of make something, and the stuff you keep to yourself is your self stuff.
Yeah, I think that it's conflicting there because from a fan's point of view, you obviously want, if there's something really good that maybe needed a little bit more work or something like that, but you get a chance an opportunity to listen to that. That could be something that it could be like an instant classic that nobody ever hears.
Yeah.
But at the same time, from an artist perspective, you don't really. Sometimes there's a reason why you don't put out something.
Yeah.
It could be because it's either like too personal or something, or it could be because it wasn't finished.
Yeah.
And if it's not finished, I could err on the side of not releasing it.
I think it's that thing of, I know a lot of people kind of get, like you say, it's like it could be an instant classic in there. There could be something which is in there which could be amazing, could change everything.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm like, there's a real kind of beautiful misery in it all, that they died before it could be released, so it will never be released. And they didn't release it because they didn't want to, or they felt they couldn't in some way. So there's this weird kind of like anxiousness to suddenly someone you've seen as like a superstar who made all this stuff, and it's like, well, no, because they were human. They still had stuff which they were like, this isn't good enough. I can do better than this, or I got to keep going.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Like, especially if you talk about it from like a traditional artist perspective, like a painter or a drawer or something like that. Like a lot of those types of people only become famous after they die.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you hold that to the same, standard?
I think it's interesting though, because with the likes of painters and stuff, you find that a lot of their work afterwards, it's released, but it's never released in the same way. So like with a music artist, like let's say Tupac.
Yeah.
So Tupac obviously had songbooks filled with songs, and then they've quite a few times taken those songs, got a few artists together and put together a song. Released it, sold it, packaged it, became what it was, sold, and everyone was like, yeah, great, new Tupac song.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you take someone, like when I was in Bruges at the start of the year, I went to the Picasso Museum.
Okay.
It's not got his major works in it. It's literally a look at all his sketchbooks.
Well, that's interesting, though.
Yeah. And it's like, but it's all work which was made by him. But it's not released as, this is a finished portrait piece by Picasso. It's, here's all the work he was doing in the background.
I think that'd be the way I'd want it to go, to be honest, because like at that point you can kind of see, if you're looking at his sketchbooks and stuff like that, maybe you get a glimpse into how he was thinking at the time. Yeah. More so than maybe what you would do from a standard painting or something like that. I mean, obviously, what you're feeling at the time.
Yeah.
What you're feeling at the time is like shows in your work depending on what kind of style you're doing and stuff like that, it can show in your work. But
I think it's with that kind of thing. It helps add to the story. Whereas with music, it's just a strange one because it's like I know they release books and stuff, and I'll be like, oh, here's some photographs they took. It's like probably the best example. That's Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I had a Kurt Cobain like journal.
Yeah, you get kind of like all their writing and stuff, and that gives you insight into the music. But I don't think anyone's going to come along and say we made an unreleased Kurt Cobain song.
Yeah.
But they do with other artists, and it's interesting just to see how estates handle that kind of thing.
The more you're talking through this, the more I hate it for music.
I'm just gradually making you hate this subsection of how a legacy is controlled.
You know, just let it be.
I mean, it's like let's say, so the other example of this is if one band member dies. Yeah. Do you keep going?
It depends who it is. It's weird. As weird as it sounds, I'd say like, you know, if the frontman goes, then I would probably decide not to. But then there's been a lot of bands recently that have continued to go without the frontman. Yeah. I find that weird. Like, for example, Blink-182, they did a tour recently and released an album without Tom DeLonge. And I didn't really... I don't know if it was recently, it was probably in the last few years. Yeah. And I don't know if... I didn't really listen to much... Like, I listened to it a bit, but it seemed a bit weird to do that necessarily. Yeah. Like, even if, like... I think I'd find it a bit weird. I mean, you can replace like certain members of the band a little bit easier because, you know, maybe it depends what the artist is and what like kind of they add to the songs and stuff like that. Yeah. Like I went to see one of my favourite bands this year, and they just replaced the guitarist, and then the guitarist who was on, it wasn't the same guy. Right. You know.
It was different.
It was different.
You could feel it.
I could feel it. It wasn't like... He wasn't getting into the music as much, or like... And he just seemed to be doing it from like a... You know, trying to be more technical, I guess. You know, not really... You know, not really giving it the emotion that you would if it's a song that you worked on yourself. Yeah.
I can get that. I think there's a couple of examples which kind of jump to mind. So like first off is Queen. Yeah. So see, the frontman died, and the frontman was Queen. Yeah. To some extent, and yet.
Now you got this tribute band.
Yeah, they've got a tribute band. So I mean that's nice because it's with Queen. It's very much we want to keep Freddie's memory alive. Yeah. That's what they're trying to do. So it's like every time it's like they get on stage, we're doing this, and anyone we replace him with just wants to pay tribute. Yeah. That's all they're doing.
But at the same time, as like the other members of Queen contribute a lot. Yeah. Like drummer and the guitarist.
Yeah, but to me, it's like it should never carried on as Queen. It could have been something else.
But like you get that with like, you know, Joy Division and I can't think of the band that came after Joy Division.
I can never remember Joy Division. I should know that.
I should know that as well.
I was a teen goth. I should know what comes after Joy Division.
But yeah, they went on to... Other members of Joy Division went on to make a band after Ian Curtis.
It's like Iron Maiden. You know, it's one of those... Oh, Metallica, I know you hate Metallica.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I don't actually...
Like, they both replaced members at one time or another. I mean, Metallica added a new member, like much later on in their career. Yeah, they added the bass player and came in and added like a whole new dimension to it, and that was a huge thing. Which kind of kicked off, and like whereas like Iron Maiden have replaced their lead a couple of times. Bruce Dickinson's been in and out continuously, so it's that strange thing of is it right to carry on keep playing those songs, or
I mean, it wholly depends on the situation. Like it depends on who you're getting in, if they're going to add something to it. And it's also up to the artist as well. You know, it takes a long time to get to the position where they're at. Yeah. You know, if they're making decent money and being able to tour some of the songs and stuff like that, you know. Yeah. I'm not going to be the person who say they shouldn't do it. You know?
Be that person, Callam.
Why?
Step out and be like, no,
nah,
fuck you
I think
guys.
people have a real problem with artists making money sometimes.
I can see that.
And I'm not from that same...
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you get the opportunity to do what you love and somebody will pay you for it, then that's great. And I don't think you should do it for free, or anything like that. And if you still have the opportunity to keep, you know, making a bit of money, you know, enough to support yourself, then, you know, that's great.
I think that's important. I think it's one of those things of like, especially with, because art is to some extent is so subjective.
Yeah.
That when people see people who are successful and they're saying, oh, well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? It's like, when you've gotten to that stage, you can really understand why they don't want to risk it. Especially if it's taken them a while to get there. Like, being an artist is a slog.
Yeah, it is, because there's a lot of the time when you know, you know, it's not necessarily going the way you want, and you have to, you know, maybe you work a job that you don't like, or you know, just to be able to do what you want to do in the free time.
I think I have a real appreciation when you get someone who is big, who does something completely different, because they're just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. So in a way, I kind of appreciate Robbie Williams.
Oh yeah.
Because, well, like, he was one of these people who, obviously, when we were younger, he was Take That.
Yeah.
It was Robbie Williams was Take That, and he was like a huge part of that band.
Yeah.
It was him and the other guy, what's his name? Gary Barlow.
Yeah.
They were like the frontman. Then you lost a frontman, and he went off and did his own thing, and then made it big doing his own thing, and then made Root Box. It's like, that takes a lot of gall to just go, yeah, I'm going to do this. There's nothing like what I've done before, but I'm going to...
Yeah, you got to change it up.
That, yeah. So you risk all that money, which you've got, all that safety, and just like, nah, I'm going to put Root Box on that album. It's like the ultimate troll move. It's like, nah, Root Box, mate. Just going to throw that into the mix and see what happens.
I never listened to much of that other than the title track.
Exactly. And everyone was like, I don't want the rest of the album. It's going to be like that. But then, like, he's just he made another one recently, and it was kind of like going back and that kind of thing. But again, it was like a weird move. Like the video, it was called Party Like a Russian, and the video for it is full of Russian stereotypes.
It's a weird one. Like,
excessively full of Russian, to the point where you're like, this could be a little xenophobic.
Yeah.
But you're watching it, it's like, he's done it again. He's just sat in his house and gone, I've made this track, and what can we do with this track? Like, what's... Can
we make it into an album?
Yeah, it's like, well, no, we could do like a nice video, Robbie. Well, we'll go to the Kremlin, we'll film you there. It's like, no. We're going to go to a mansion, we're going to get lots of people dressed in kind of slutty Russian costumes, and then we're going to throw vodka at everybody. It's like, this is going to be great. And everyone else is sat there going...
Sometimes I find it funny when people do that, because like some people do it like you know, just to keep all of their friends and mates like employed. Like one of the things I always talk about is like Adam Sandler. Yeah. Like, he makes movies so that him and his mates can go and make a movie, and they've all got jobs. Yeah. Like, and
you're Adam Sandler's friend. You're full-time employed because of Adam Sandler. Yeah.
And you know, there's something in that doesn't always get mentioned. And I think that can be the same way for bands as well. Like, you can get a band where everyone just wants to keep it going, but then one person has a kid or something like that, and then they drop out, and then it's like, well, let's keep it going, you know, why waste a good thing?
Yeah, even if we're not doing exactly what we were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, going back to Kevin Smith, like, he started his podcast as a way of keeping Jason Mewes sober. Because Jason Mewes had like, almost overdosed, and he kept going in and out of rehab and all this kind of stuff. And he found that hanging out with Jason was like the way. He was like, cool, so we're going to do a weekly podcast. You're going to come to my house, and you're going to be around, and you're not going to do drugs. And he just kept that going and going and going. It's like, once you have that empire, you just start to pull your friends in one way or another that you can, or like even family members.
Yeah.
I like to think that if I haven't made it huge, I just employ everyone I know.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. But it's in a good way, though. You know, what's the point of what's the point of being successful if you can't have anyone to share it with?
The interesting thing of that is like we think. So we're sat here thinking that's a great idea. If we were politicians, that'd be seen as bad. Because the amount of times people are like, he employed his wife. She's got her cousin a job, and it's like, you're getting your friend a job.
I don't know.
It's not a huge thing. I mean, that was the whole Bill Clinton thing.
What?
Like with Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
Like, he gave her a job. And it was like, and everyone looked down on it because obviously the scandal had come out then. And basically it was like, you give her a job. And clearly that was like sexual favor for a job and all this kind of stuff. And it was just like, really? He gave someone he liked a position.
Yeah. I don't know if it was necessarily that. Like...
I know we're not going to try and explain something.
I'll explain something that happened 20 years.
Before our time. And like, you know what, let's go back a little bit. Look, the Clinton scandal.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one with I think the thing about doing it as a politician and why it's weird is because it's not your money to be playing with necessarily. Yeah. It's somebody who, works hard and pays their taxes. Or, somebody who gets lucky and doesn't work hard and still pays their taxes.
Just happen to be born into their position.
But yeah, it's taxpayers' money, and I think you've got to try and hold politicians to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Just because of the implications on that, if it's somebody else's money that you're playing with, you should be trying to do the best job that you can for all the people that voted for you and all the people that that you take tax money off of. You shouldn't be employing somebody who necessarily is your friend just because they're your friend, unless you think they can do a good job of it. And in some cases, like if it's like some of the jobs that like they get that politicians give are just like personal assistants and
it's like busy work.
Not busy work necessarily, but it's not necessarily the end of the world if you had like a personal assistant who wasn't working at like 100% all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
I can understand that.
You still get your stuff done.
Yeah. He's just slightly sub-fab. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, you might miss a couple of meetings. I don't know much about the world of personal assistants. I wouldn't really want to comment.
I don't think... I've always thought like I could do with a personal assistant just because I'm terrible at organising like other things because I get so focused on projects and organising work and stuff like that. Actually doing everything else, like appointments and bits and bobs like that, I'm terrible at. Like I can't understand that, but at the same time I would hate someone to be my personal assistant.
Really? Why?
Just
I don't know you about it.
It just, I think it's that thing of like having someone there who has control of part of my life, even though I'm paying them to be there and I can like make them leave at any time. It's that thing of like, that person, like they're organising my life, like part of my life.
Access to
it. And I can't have that. It's like the whole thing of if you had a mansion, would you have a butler? Would you have maids, a butler, or anything like that? I couldn't do it. The idea of people in my house whilst I'm in my house asleep.
And
they're like wandering around.
Hang on, take this back. What if it was one of your mates doing it? Like
that'd be worse.
Because
I get the feeling I just get messed with constantly.
Like
you can't say if you let's say me and you were in this situation. You were owning a mansion and you hired me to be your PA, kind of thing. Having me wander into your bedroom in the morning and hand you breakfast.
That'd be weird.
That'd be weird, right?
Yeah, it would be.
And then you're asleep and I'm just wandering around your house. There's no way I'm not going to mess with your stuff. There's no way I'm not just going to wander through and be like, oh, what's Callam up today? And we've got these books, eh?
I think it'd be weird for stuff like doctor's appointments and stuff like that. That would be the bit that I'd find the strangest.
I mean, that's the bit I need.
Yeah.
Someone,
I think that's the bit that
someone
I
to
need
ring
as well.
people and be like, oh, they need a doctor's appointment, book that, tell me when it is. I don't want any other interaction with them at all. I just want the phone call to be like, you've got a doctor's appointment on this day.
That's the worst thing about... I used to work night shifts, as you know, and then now I work during the day. And one of the hardest things is being able to sort out those kind of things, like doctors, dentists, stuff like that.
I think even if I work days, I wouldn't. Like, just because the worst, I hate making phone calls. Yeah. I think it's the worst form.
I got over it. I had a job where I had to make a lot of phone calls, and then you get over it.
I can't.
It's still weird.
I don't know. I don't know what I expect to happen. Like what I'm so afraid of. Like if I'm ringing someone, they're gonna pick up the phone and say hello. I'll say something like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, I don't know what I'm expecting will just be happening, but I'm terrified to make a phone.
The thing that I've gotten the worst at the moment is like making phone calls in which I know I'm gonna have to be annoyed at somebody or something.
Complaint phone calls.
I know I gotta do that, but I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
For example, I missed. I had a gig to go to, right. And the train I got ended up being like 2 hours delayed, and I missed the gig.
Right.
So in the moment, I was really annoyed, and I wanted to talk to like the train guard, and I was really annoyed, and I knew it wasn't any of his fault, and nothing that he could say or do would bring that me being able to go to this gig.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it wasn't my fault and I missed something that I really wanted to do. Yeah. And balancing that is a weird one because I didn't want to be that guy who gets annoyed, but it's just like, what can you do? Like,
I understand that.
Because I know, like, the thing that I always find weird is that, you know, when you're talking to somebody and if you get annoyed by something like, you know, and there's somebody on the other end of that line. I've been on the other end of that line and had people like complaining at me about something, and it's not a great place to be. You know, necessarily it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to kind of pass on that bad karma. But then sometimes you have to make a complaint if something's not working.
So you don't want to give someone a crap day.
Yeah.
Just because you're having a crap day.
Like,
that was like always my thing with like when you calling up about your internet, like your phone line or something like that.
Oh dear, yeah.
That's the worst in the world. Like you're having a rough day, things aren't going right. You're gonna have to call them up, and you're gonna get some random person who's gonna deal with your wrath of this is wrong. Why is this wrong?
The worst one is for me. I had to try and sort that out, and all the bills in my house paid by my housemate. And I don't think I'm on the name for most of them.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to call to sort out my internet, for example, I'd call them and I say, look, I don't need to know any account information or any payment details or anything like that. I've just got a problem here. Can you fix it? Because my housemate is currently out or busy.
Yeah.
Can we sort this out? And it's like, oh, I won't be able to do that without the bill payer's permission. And I'm just like, well, it's not working for him. You can see this. Like, I just want to get it to work.
It's like he's having problems as well.
He's having problems as well. He's just not here to experience them all.
I know I've done it a couple of times. Like my dad's, like, I hate making phone calls, but my dad's even worse. Mm-hmm. He flat out refuses most of the time. And the amount of times I've called up and just pretended to be my dad. And like he's just given me his details, and I've been like, "Yep, cool. I'm just gonna." It's like, "Yep, I'm Mr. Cooling, and I'm gonna, this is my details, and this is the problem I'm having." But I always feel more confident doing that than just being me.
I think there's a certain weight to it that comes when you're a bit older, and I'm starting to get that weight, but I'm still not comfortable with it or anything like that.
I've seen that a few times where I've been in situations and. You're kind of with someone who's a little bit younger, or even just like not as experienced in that situation as possible, and I'm completely relaxed because I know what's going to happen, and it's like, I need to go here, or I'm going to complain to this guy, and that's going to happen there, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know, or this, that, and the other. I find within group settings, I can do that more easily. Yeah. Much easily.
Sometimes you just gotta as well like take that role.
Yeah.
It was something that like I've become a little bit more confident doing, like, the last few years. Because, like, believe it or not, I was, like, I used to be super nervous, and sometimes I do get nervous, like, doing all those sorts of things. And then you kind of just get to a point where you've done it a bit before, and you get a bit, like, better at handling it. What's going to happen.
I think maybe this should be my resolution for the new year, is I'd love to get to a point where I can complain about my food.
Oh no, I can't do that. I had to do it one time recently.
I mean, my barrier first off is I worked in kitchens, and I'm like, I hate it when people send back food. But if my food's wrong, I will just eat it, and that's like it's a real annoyance for me because I'm like, I know I'm paying money towards this, and I'm like, no, I can't send back food. I can't flag a waiter.
Really?
I just can't do it. Even if like to pay the bill.
Oh.
I let whoever's with me do it.
Nah, I don't like waiting around for the bill. It's my most annoying thing. It's like...
I'll wait forever.
I won't. I got somewhere to be.
I could be there for days. They come along like 2 days later, come to say, like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Damn it, I forgot to
Nah, as soon as my meal's done, I'm just like, I've got to say to somebody, can we have the bill? Can you bring the card machine? Because I'm paying by card. Like, I'm not gonna
just
let them...
itching to get out of your head. Just
well, I don't like... I have this weird thing where I don't really like being in a position of indecision or something. Right. It's like, when I know something has to happen, like, I know we've got to pay the bill. I want to pay the bill, and then we can go or do something else. Yeah. Like, the waiting around, whilst, it's fun being with company and stuff like that, and it sounds really weird and, like, impatient and stuff. But when I know there's something that needs to happen, it might as well happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave this restaurant without paying the bill.
At times in my head I'm like, is that easier? If I walk out and I just leave the money on the table, is that easier? Like,
I've had some
and then I look around at the tables near me, I'm like, would you take the money? If I leave money,
that's a weird one. When you're leaving the tip and you just like put it under like some stuff.
Can stack everything on top of it.
Yeah.
It's like folding the table over.
I have some weird things about like advice that I've had recently about like food and when it's not the way you want it to be. So I was talking to a friend of mine whose brother's a chef,
right.
And he was saying that as a chef, that sometimes you want people to send back your food if it's not to your liking, because then they can make it to your liking. And they won't leave the restaurant necessarily saying that, the food wasn't the way I liked it, it was a terrible restaurant. Yeah. They'll leave saying, it didn't come the way I wanted it, but then they fixed it and it was the way I wanted it. Yeah. So, I'm happy now that I got what I wanted, not that I left dissatisfied.
Yeah.
So that's one way to look at it. But I think as long as you're nice about it, I think it's not too bad. It's difficult to do, I know what you mean, because you're always worried, like I'm worried that somebody's going to mess with my food. But there was one time when I ordered a pad thai and it just came out and it was like just noodles. They hadn't put any of the like the sauces and like stuff that would make it a pad thai. It was just plain noodles and I was like, this is plain noodles. Like you can taste it if you want.
But it's just plain noodles.
But it's just plain noodles. And there's a big difference between pad thai and plain noodles.
It does worry me though. Like, I mean, I know part of it comes from like my parents because they don't send food back.
Right.
But what my mum does, like what I do doesn't annoy me, but what my mum does really annoys me.
Okay.
So you'll go to a restaurant, something will be wrong. She won't contact anyone. She'll eat it.
Yeah.
But she'll tell them at the end.
Oh, that doesn't help.
And I'm like, that's worse. Like it's worse than just sitting there and going, it wasn't quite right. Like when you've left the restaurant, when you get to the end of the meal and then you tell them as though they can do something about it at the end. And it's just like, I'd hate that as like a waiter or anything. If like, just 20 minutes ago, you could have come and we'd have fixed that.
We had a situation recently where we went out for a meal and the starter like just got forgotten.
Right.
So they got like, we mentioned it and they're like, oh yeah, sorry. And then gave us another starter on top of it. Like, and the one that we originally ordered. Yeah. And so, sometimes it's
it can work out.
It can work out.
I've literally left restaurants before where we've not received something. We've not paid for it, but you've asked for it. There's a running joke with me and Sean, where
with Sean?
We went to
Colbert?
we went to Chimmy's.
Yeah.
And I think Sean had asked for like a glass of water or something. Where it was like, yep, cool. Literally an hour passed and he never received that glass of water.
Did he not mention it again?
We never mentioned it again, but every time like a waiter came over we were like, in our heads. It's like this little joke between us, just like, you're never getting that water. Like, that's never happening. You're never receiving that water. And then we left the restaurant and we were just like, I wonder if we go back next time, we'll ever get that water.
I haven't seen him in a while, actually.
Let's come in New Year's Eve.
We
could reunion it.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Reunion it.
Who else have you got coming? I don't want to put people on the spot. I feel like I'm putting people on the spot.
This is like 2 weeks after New Year's Eve,
okay.
so if they weren't
there,
you know, we're doing that thing of where we're discussing something which could go wrong.
Yeah.
They can't do anything to change it,
and
now we get to be bitches about it if they don't turn up. So, I mean, there's it's all the old crew, Jason and whatnot.
Oh, Jason, fine.
Few more folk, and
yeah, that sounds like a really nice day.
There is something I want to ask you about before, because we've got like 20 minutes or something.
Oh, okay.
Because last time we spoke, we were both quite drunk.
Oh yeah, very.
It was good. So. We were nicely drunk.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been talking about music, so I wanted to ask about the music you've been making.
Yeah.
And what kind of music it is.
Okay. Cool. So I've been at the moment I've been writing a few bits and bobs. My New Year's resolution, which I completely glossed over, was that I wanted to make an album.
Yeah.
A start to finish album, and whilst I didn't have time to record it, it is something that I've got enough tracks to do. I just need to find the time to record it. Got a band together, and finding the time to get them together is tricky sometimes because they both work nights. So that can be
that's a challenge. Yeah.
It's a challenge, yeah, but it's not it's not impossible to overcome.
Weekends exist.
Yeah, weekends exist. Yeah, but yeah, the kind of music I write is I describe it as the easiest way to say it would be like indie rock. Okay. The type of music I liked the most was when I was a teenager, was listening to indie bands like Muse and Block Party, Radiohead, I guess, bands like that, and obviously there's some more obscure ones, but yeah, I like that kind of music, and so when I ended up writing my songs, I kind of approach it like that. It's they're kind of like indie songs, but usually I want to say they're kind of progressive in a way. Okay. I try and write music that's a bit interesting, and I'll be whether or not I could write in a different time signature or something like that. Yeah. Not just 4/4 standard. I try and mix it up. Have interesting breaks, or I'll do something interesting vocally or lyrically or something like that.
So that's more of you trying to challenge yourself away again.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier on.
I want to get better, and that challenges me more. I guess it's kind of similar to. I draw a lot of influences from Have you ever listened to a band called Death Cab for Cutie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of draw a lot of influences from their stuff. They're one of my favourite bands, and the way they approach their songs are quite interesting. A lot of darker subject matter that they're singing about and stuff. Which it can be how relationships don't always end up how you want them to be.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of music that I write about. I've got I've been trying to write more lyrically interesting songs, because sometimes I end up writing poppy love songs and stuff that, because it's really easy to do without making it sound bad.
Yeah.
The weird thing about writing lyrics is you always in your head you think, oh, does this sound stupid to somebody else when they're reading what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, when you're on the drums you can play whatever you want or something like that, and unless you're a drummer or somebody's really looking out for that, then you're not going to say, oh, that was completely stupid, what are you doing there, unless it was bad. It's either they're in good or they're in bad.
Yeah. You're gonna focus on it essentially, but with lyrics, everyone can understand it.
Everyone can understand it, and maybe they start singing along, and maybe they don't sing along if you write something that's dumb. I've wrote songs. I've been writing some stranger songs at the moment. I wrote a song about my cat recently.
Okay.
Because I got a new kitten. I wrote a song about my kitten, but the song's about like song's really about how you deal with kind of like the mistakes you've made in your life.
Okay.
And I kind of personified it in this, like, and getting a cat, you know. Getting a cat for me was weird in a way because it was me trying to be more thinking forward and not being so short term. Yep. It was, you know, kind of like, not an investment, but like, I know I'm going to have this cat for a long time. And I don't want to make necessarily the mistakes that I've made in my past.
Yeah.
I've got this cat. I've got to try and make myself a better person and be around so that, you know, I can take care of this cat. Yeah. This cat can take care of me.
That's a nice sentiment.
Kind of in a weird way. But the lyrics are all just like, you know, the lyrics are like, you know, about my cat. You know how cats and animals like chase things that you can't see?
Yes.
It's about like the animal kind of trying to protect you from like the spirits and like from your past.
Okay.
Like the ghosts of your past.
Yeah.
Not literal ghosts of your past, but I don't really believe in that. But
yeah. I get the sentiment. Yeah.
So I try to write like stuff that's a little bit interesting. Then again, I also write a lot of like love songs and stuff like that. You know, life's going well when you're writing songs about that and not breakup songs. Or like being miserable. But then again, a lot of my stuff's like miserable as well.
I found that interesting though, because like I know a lot of people write like love songs or happy songs and stuff like that. Whereas I find it's like there's a quote from I think it's Space, and I've always misquoted it, but it's like contentment is the enemy of creativity.
Yeah.
And it's like if I'm happy, I really find it tough to make anything because I don't know how to make happy work, because my work's usually on the side of negative or destructive in some way. So when it comes to that, I'm like, how the fuck does anyone how does someone write a love song? Like, I don't get, that's completely foreign to me.
I mean, the way my love songs usually work is like they'll be love songs, but like something is like a little bit awry as well. It's like there's like an undertone.
I love you, but
is there like
a little creepy?
I love you, but we need to figure out where we're going. Like,
I love you. Everything's going out great, but I need to ruin it. I got to ruin this for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna find a way to ruin this.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. I think that's a great album name. I'm gonna find a way to ruin this. It's like, welcome to my new album. It's gonna be awful. No. I mean, the reason like I wanted to kind of ask that is because I was listening to a few artists recently who their favourite music isn't the music they make.
Yeah.
Essentially, like I
find that super interesting.
Yeah, like Lil Dicky, his favourite rap is gangster rap.
Yeah.
It's like hardcore. This is me. Fuck everyone.
Yeah.
Bitches. Gold. Yeah. You know, what's like that drink, that Grey Goose. Everything. Like that. Yeah, the music he makes is quite sensitive. It's all very inwardly looking, despite kind of like its format. And he's even got a song which is like about that. About how the music he loves isn't what he makes. So I always find it really interesting what people make comparatively.
It depends what you're good at as well. Yeah. Like sometimes you can find yourself being good at a type of music that that you're not necessarily like associated with or anything like that. I try and make songs for me.
Yeah.
Just because I try and I feel like I'm a better critic if I make a song that I would like. I find it hard to write a song that I dislike. Even like I used to be in like a metal band and stuff like that, and I wouldn't say it's not like I dislike metal or anything like that. It was not my preferred choice of music. I like certain like artists like that would be associated with that genre. But even then I'd try and put my stamp on it to make it so I'm happy with like the way the chords like are progressing in this, or like, you know, if even if it's just the drums that I can control, I'll make the drums interesting for me.
Yeah. I think that's a solid way of creating that. Like, it doesn't matter what you're making, as long as you're doing something which holds to you, you'll never feel like you've kind of truly done yourself an injustice. Like if you do commission work or something like that, you always throw in a little something for yourself to kind of like.
I remember back to your point of us being a bit inebriated. There was a couple of days where I was just like, afterwards, I had the fear of like, oh dear, I said something to you that like, I'm sure you were just like completely just being really polite and.
Well, this was the problem when we were speaking drunk. Like, we were going on about it, and you kept telling me, you're just like, oh no, Graham, you're just being nice. You're being too kind for me, and I wasn't. I was genuinely interested. Yeah. I was just like, I know I'm drunk, but
no. I was just being very self-aware, but like, I can remember at the point I was just saying I was a big fan of like your art. And mostly the tone of like some of the stuff that you try and create, and I think like the conversation always like, I'd love if I could commission you to do something in that vein, because I've got this music that I'm working on and that I want to do that. But then like some people say that they're working on something and they're not actually working on it. You know, it's one of these, I've got this movie that I want to make and I'll never get around to actually doing it. And even though I felt like I was doing that, even though it's something that I am working on and do want to do, and I'm going to try and get it done as soon as I can. But like, you know, I didn't want to be that person who was just like wanting talking about something that'll never happen.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come off as that when I wasn't being that.
I think I'm a prime example of talking about projects I'm doing, yet never showing anything from those projects. And I think if you're passionate about it, I mean, I know I've known you for quite close for like 2 years now, and you've been talking about it a lot. It's like, I think if someone brings it up often enough, that it's something that they can be passionate about, and you can see it when they talk about it, like when you talk about your music. I think things take time. I can appreciate it's like when someone says they're writing a book, and I'm like, I'm always just asking, I want to read your book. Like, send me something, send me part of it, because it's those things that we keep them for so long for ourselves, and whilst we create, we need to make things for ourselves, like we're saying with music, but you got to share little bits, I think, just to remind yourself you're still doing it.
I think for me, another thing is that I can't remember where I read it or heard it or something, but in order to be able to make a significant change or like make a significant step forward with something you want to do or something you would like to improve about yourself, like a big part of that is being able to tell other people, so you kind of like write in a kind of unofficial contract with the people around you that, you know, this is something I'm doing, hold me accountable if I don't do it, or in a way, even though you're not like expressly saying that, you know,
you're giving that expectation that it's going to be arriving.
That there is something that you are doing, and then when you stop talking about it, that's when it kind of sinks into the background, and maybe you don't do it as much as maybe you want to, because
drops off
a bit. But by reminding people, that's kind of what I want to do. Like, I want to just try and keep it in my mind and and give me some urgency to try and actually get it done.
Well, I mean, essentially this is a great start. We're in January at this point in time. In the future, also not. January. You're on a podcast talking about your new album.
Oh yeah.
You know,
well, it's not over yet.
It's not over. You've essentially this is a shout into the world of what we're going to make. So I think that's a great start. I think that's a good message for the start of the year. It's like, if you've got something you want to do and you're passionate about.
I think that's what I would say about the new year. Like, I know, like, back to the whole point of New Year's resolutions and stuff. I don't see them as necessarily, if you're something you want to do in a year, set yourself a goal, and even if you don't really get there, like, at least you kind of got close.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying, at least you kind of get close. It's not necessarily about completing it, because my goal was to write an album by the end of this year. Well, write and record. I've written most of it, and it's just now recording it, finding the time to record it. did I fail my New Year's resolution? Yeah, probably, but I've gotten a lot more comfortable playing guitar and singing and performing.
You got started.
And I got started, which is really the important thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to end on.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to end on.
I think anyone out there's like creating stuff.
Yeah, just get started.
Get started. Tell people about it. You know, come on the podcast. We'll
Tell Graham about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Callum.
Oh, thanks for having us.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. I had a lot of fun.
Good.
Yeah, talked about a lot of stuff. It was cool.
And we shall talk to you guys later.
Yeah, hope to have me on soon.